Money is something that we choose to trade our life energy for. And honestly, just this idea kind of changed my life. It changed how I work, how I look at earning money, my future plans, all from this idea that we don't buy things with money, we buy it with time in our lives. So that means money is actually life. Now, I started looking at my money this way, that I actually have to trade a little bit of my life, a little bit of my time for money, and that really changes how I spent it. Let's say if you work an 8-hour day, you make $160, you're tired at the end of a long day, so you go out to dinner, you spend $20. Well, instead of working 8 hours, you could have worked 7 hours. Like, I started to look at every purchase in kind of the light of, would I work an hour to go out to dinner? Is that worth it for me? Is there that much value in it? And kind of this mindset really shifted not only how I spent money, but also how I earn money and just how I think about money in general. And it actually kind of made me start valuing my own life and my own time a lot more. Because of thinking this way, I started to really hone in on how much can I leverage my time? How can I earn as much as possible in as short amount of time as humanly possible, so that I'm trading these precious hours of my life, something that I can't get any more of, for as much money as humanly possible. And it's not because all I care about in life is money, it's because I value my time that much that I don't want to waste a bunch of my life for the same amount of money that I could work really hard for in a short period of time and earn that same amount. This can really shift your mindset, where maybe you used to be comfortable making whatever you're making now or whatever you used to make, but now it might be time to ask for a raise or to look for a different job or to start a business and have something that, if you put the time and energy in, you can be rewarded for trading your life. It's a very precious thing for this, like pieces of paper, this stuff. And this also helps me minimize distraction. Let's say your time is worth $60 an hour, so $1 a minute. Are you gonna spend, what average people do, a couple hours on social media, or hundreds of dollars that you could have earned on social media? Does it bring you that much joy and that much value? If you had to spend $20 to talk about the weather with somebody you don't even like, would you do that? Or would you kind of take control and be like, no, I can't do that right now. I have to prioritize what is right for me. I only have so much of this life energy in me to give. I need to make sure that I'm making the most of it. I don't see things as prices anymore. I actually see it as hours of my life. So instead of looking at a new car as a certain $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, I'm looking at it as 6 months of my life for this car. When you look at it that way, it is pretty scary, and that's just the price of the car. You also have to look at insurance. So if that's $100 or $200 a month, that might be a full day that you have to work just to pay for the insurance of your car. When you calculate in the payment, the depreciation, the repairs, tires, gas, how many days a month are you working in order to have a thing that can get you to work? So instead of doing that, I always try to get like 5 to 10-year-old cars that have already lost a lot of that value. They've already depreciated a lot, and then I'm maybe spending 1 or 2 months on a car instead of 6 months on a car, because that's just an insane amount of money just to get from point A to point B. And it's not just talking about cars. You look at buying a coffee in a coffee shop for $4 or $5. Maybe that's 10 minutes or 5 minutes of your time. Is it worth working 10 minutes in order to have that coffee when you could have pretty much the exact same thing, but you make it at home and it takes you a minute or 2 minutes to make it? Or the new phone constantly. That's maybe a week's worth of work just to buy a phone. When your old phone was working fine, but you just felt the need to upgrade it because it has a better camera. I don't know where that accent came from. My Boston's coming out a little bit, guys. A better camera, better storage. You can even find your car on it. It's over there. I don't even know. Get some water. It doesn't even matter. I don't know. I should stop this. But honestly, it almost makes me angry, because I'm looking at these stores. I'm like, how many hours are you stealing by overcharging people and designing things so that they break? Like everything, like they say it's not built like it's used to. It's literally, they don't make it like they used to anymore, because they're designing things to break so they can steal more of your life. Even the time you spend watching ads, like there are ads on this, hopefully they're only like 10 to 15 seconds. But let's say like TV, where you're watching a movie, it's an hour and a half long, but it takes you 3 hours in order to watch that movie because of all the ads. Well, now you just spend an hour and a half or maybe like $30 on this movie. So in that case, it might actually be cheaper to just watch that movie on Netflix and then work for an hour and a half and earn some money. And for me, this is why I've kind of embraced minimalism, because I don't want to spend hours of my life buying stuff just to keep up with everybody else, or buying stuff that I'm not going to use in a week or two, because I'm giving a store part of my life for something that I don't need, I don't want, and I'm not going to use in the future. You're just burning your life when you're shopping. It's madness. But something that's not, and will hopefully end up saving you more money than the amount of money that you spend by time consuming it, is this channel. So if you're getting some value, don't forget to subscribe. Now this is where things actually start to get worse. Let's say you make $30 an hour, you don't actually make $30 an hour. Obviously, there's things like taxes that for some people get taken out for them, and others you have to pay at the end of the year, which is extremely exciting. But you also have to calculate in the cost of your job. So yes, your job actually does have a cost. If you're working an 8-hour day, but it takes you an hour to get to and from work, well, now you're working a 10-hour day. So that $30 an hour drops down to like $24 an hour. So you gotta make sure you account for the time your job takes besides the times that you're getting paid for. Not only do you have that time going to and from work, like I talked about before, you have the cost of your car. How much of that would you have to pay if you didn't have a job? Could you have a different car? Could you have no car? What about your housing? Could you live in a smaller place or a different place if you didn't have your job? Or could you lower that time it takes to go to work by moving closer? Maybe if you buy lunches or breakfast every day at work, that's an expense. You have clothing that you wear just for working, and you try to keep your wardrobe fresh for your work. Maybe after a long week and you're just shot, you have recreational costs of, $100 a weekend that it takes just to de-stress and get your mind right for Monday. If you actually sit down and think about all those different costs that go into your job, the stress and getting sick from stress and all the other things that go along with it. Now, instead of making $30 or $24, maybe you're going to work for like $10 or $15 an hour. And that honestly kind of changed my life and can really change a lot of people's lives when you realize that once all those expenses that go along with having a job are factored in, you don't actually have to make a lot of money if you can find out a way to do something from home, or start a side hustle, or start a business, or sell something. You don't actually need a ton of money if you can cut out all of those expenses, or if you can find a way to cut them out and have your job. You can raise your savings rate by a ton with just cutting those out and actually earning more money from the time that you're spending. So now what? This is where it's important to kind of ask, what do you want to spend your life on? Well, looking at every dollar that you spend as time can be very helpful. It can also be harmful if you get extreme with it. And there are some things that are really important, and things that I am happy to spend my time on. Things like just going for an hour-long walk in the woods. Yeah, maybe I could have earned 10, 20, 30 bucks during that time. But for me, that is spending time and energy and investing it into my life. It's making me happy. It's reducing stress, spending time with family and friends. These are things that I want to spend my time and my life on. Being creative, helping people, those are good uses of time, as opposed to taking my life and trading it for stuff, things that just kind of go away, things that actually hurt you or hurt the world. You got to think about, in what way can you kind of make the biggest impact? Can you put something out there? Can you get lasting rewards from investing your time, your life, your energy, and your money? And so, as always, it kind of comes back to do less so that you can be more. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot if you would subscribe and hit the little bell thingamajig, and I'll see you next week.